Hello, everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. As you can probably tell, we are freezing here in the most southern tip of the globe. But prevail we shall. How are you, beautiful Yanna? Welcome to Yanna Smith from Namibia, my beauteous friendiola, who is awesome. And I'm very, 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 very jealous because you have just returned from yet another one of your amazing outings to, well, you always tell me it's not the first people of Namibia. I insist that they are. But you saying it's the indigenous people, the Ovaherero,
Yes.
and just an amazing time that you're having and just learning so much about the culture. And now you're starting to be gifted things as well. And as we know, that is a huge privilege. They obviously think very highly, they regard you very highly if you've been gifted all sorts of things. Yeah?
Yes, absolutely, Chantal. It was my privilege, and these communities have nothing. They have nothing except their their beliefs and their faith and their hope. So for
Yeah.
me, it was so remarkable to be. And I mean, I take some things, and you take tobacco, and you take some clothes, and some shoes, and some soap, and sanitary towels, and so on. But you don't expect to be gifted something. So yes, it was really actually quite remarkable to have a gift given to me because I brought things and I'm special and it matters. And it's so nice now. It's my third trip, so it's so nice that you can arrive at the homestead and you don't see Oma Rosa sitting under her tree, but you forget that it's winter and she's moved now. And she's just over the rise. And you're like, Oma Rosa. And she goes, ek is hier, Yana. And then you're like, oh, Oma Rosa. And it was just the most amazing 3 days in the veld. It was beautiful. It was just stunning.
Okay, well, I'm dying to hear because you've been telling me a few things. So, what did you learn from them this time? Because just to also update the viewers, if those of you haven't watched my interviews with Yana before, and I highly recommend that you do, it's super, super, super interesting what Yana is doing. She's busy doing her PhD at the moment, and she's doing it on the whole human wildlife conflict and literally how to find resolutions. So, what she's doing is she's now working with some of the ancient tribes of Namibia. I call them the first people. She says they're the indigenous, but they've literally been kicked out and now living on the edge and in the most dry, barren places of Namibia. And it's really quite sad because all their rights to hunt and literally live according to their culture, because the Ovaherero are now living within a conservancy that is obviously governed or controlled by the government. So they don't get to hunt for their own meat anymore. And that is such a strong tradition within any African tribe is you hunt. They are now being hunted for by the rangers, if you will, and then rationed meat. So it's
Yes.
a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy what is happening there. But of course, what Yana is doing, she's going there, she's creating awareness and also bringing back a lot of this incredible ancient wisdom with her, which is something we are so sorely missing in our modern day world, which, in my opinion, I always say this on the show, is probably the biggest reason that we've lost our power as sovereign human beings, because we've given up our connections, our roots to our culture, literally. You know, when it comes to growing our own food, um, having our own gardens, our own animals, our own eggs, chickens, whatever it might be, you know, we've kind of given that up. And I mean, I know there's lots of arguments for that because all sorts of things, and I get that not everyone can, but I think it's just been taken so for granted, which has also then enabled the powers that be to completely do what the hell they want with us when it comes to how they control And exactly, and I mean, I think this is on a microcosmic level of what's really going on a macrocosmic level as well, if you think about it, right? I mean, they've taken this ancient wisdom and knowledge, they refuse to integrate it into society, and are now going with a very, very nefarious agenda, really, where we are completely being stripped of our human rights. Really, in a nutshell, that's what's happening. I don't know what's your take on that. Hello, Beck.
You
Hello,
are
Lisa. Hello, Dragonfly. Nice to see you all. And morning.
you are completely right, Chantal. These people have completely been stripped of their basic right to be Ovaherero people. So they can't really practice their culture anymore. It's a complete cultural exclusion. Um, Siegfried, he's also the chairman of the Conservancy Committee, and he's one of my close friends, and also I interview him regularly. He is from the Muduma clan, and the Mudumas really founded Ehirovipuka, the conservancy I'm currently working in, and he remembers times when they lived in Itasha. So, and then they were pushed out and they had to move 60 kilometers this side of where the boundary fence would be. And Zikri's grandfather simply said, I'm not moving. And that's why the tar road runs right up against the boundary of the Etosha National Park all the way to Opu. And the Ehirovipuka Conservancy is just right there in those villages. You can see the Etosha fence from where they are. And it's so sad because it is northwestern Namibia and it is traditionally very dry. And right on the other side of that fence, there's this grazing. But they can't go there. It's their ancestral land, but they can't go there. And they're not angry. That's the worst part, Chantal. These people are not angry. There's no anger. They have such, I don't know what it is. There's this time, rhythm, nature, sunrise, sunset, lion, elephant.
Nature, in harmony with the rhythms of nature. And they understand completely. You see, and I so felt you there because exactly what you were saying was it's like they are, you see, this is where I want to just say to people who have thought that African people are savages or don't know what they talk. That is, we couldn't, those of us who think that could not be further off the mark. Because remember, when we go back to the beginning of time, really, on this planet that is recorded, so to speak, we're looking at the most ancient recorded tribe, which is the Bushmen.
Yes.
And the Bushmen created fire. They started fire, right? They worked completely. He'd look up at the sun and he'd look up at the moon. He'd look up at the stars. They completely understood how that worked. But they also understood that fighting, anger, you see, this is where the ancients know. It doesn't help because they understand that the people who grab and take are really sick people. They understand there's something in the spirit of the person who does that is sick. And they don't want to hurt a wounded person. So they don't give them more anger. And it's so, now, on that note, just talking about that, I know, is it the Himbas in Namibia, that there's this tribe when someone does something wrong, they put the person in the middle of the circle, and then they, for hours or days or whatever it might be, they would then remind this person of all the good things that they've done. So instead of punishing the person for the crime they've committed, so to speak, they then remind them of how powerful they are, what they did when they were kids, how funny they were. You know what I'm saying? So then they bring that part of the person back. And I know it's one of the Namibian tribes who do that, and I can't remember which one offhand. Do you remember offhand? Do you know?
No, Chantal, it might be the Himba, even though the Himba, remember, they're very traditional. They're still the traditional Ovaherero. So I've got a lot of Himba people that speak to me, but they're just not living in the Himba area, which is a little bit more north from Ehi, where I'm working. I must tell you, though, that the Ovaherero did not step back 1 second when the extermination order came from Germany. Remember, von Trotha, this is our big genocide, the Nama and the Ovaherero. So they pulled up, they picked up arms, and to this day, they will wear their military uniforms. They will not
Yeah,
for a second hesitate to take arms. It's just
yeah,
not now. I'm not well, I mean, it's not obviously not going to happen because it's not that time, and it wasn't. I mean, that was an extermination order from Trotha issued that early 1904, and then the war
yeah. End of
started.
the
And
turn of the
yeah,
century. Yeah.
yeah, and that's when the war started. But there is a very large segment of social justice. So they do this, the informal sort of courts, where they do focus on the good, because the Ovaherero are all about family. Like if you and I were the daughters of whatever, whoever it was, say farmer, let's call him Siegfried. There's a lot of German names in there. You and I, if we were to marry, we would integrate, because we are girls, we would integrate into our husbands' families' homesteads. So you never leave. The homestead stays sort of 40 people. And as
Mm,
the elders die, the young ones become older, and so it goes. We are not supposed to leave. Okay, we are girls, so we go and join our husbands. But if we were boys, the boys would stay, and all
mm,
those
mm.
resources are pooled. And that's what I got as well, because you don't see, and it's so interesting, you don't see any chopped trees in the Conservancy. You don't see chopped trees. You see chopped trees in every single informal settlement. Understand, these people have got mud houses, shacks, etc., etc. There's not built houses in these little villages and homesteads and things, and their little kraals and things, but you don't see chopped trees. But the trees are very important. I was even told by an elder that they provide oxygen. I don't even know how she knows that, but they provide oxygen and they provide shelter and medicine. And the roots are important to make their omaere, which is their sour milk. And so they don't just let the milk rot; they actually add the roots of the shepherd's tree, and well, and also the swartak blackthorn, and they would add the roots in the calabash, and then the milk sort of curdles, and then it becomes omahere. So the trees are important for everything. And then Omarosa also said, because they make the environment look pretty. So the trees are important. They don't chop down trees. You don't see it. And also, it's that communal living. So you don't need to go and harvest 50 trees to get enough wood to build a kraal and a new house and a new whatever. It's all just, or your frame at least, because they use a lot of the mud. You don't need to do that because everybody is together, and it's just the lifestyle, because it's more biologically economical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's lighter on the ecosystem because everything is so dry, right? So
Wow.
it's just remarkable. It's remarkable. And not one person, they don't even hesitate a second. If you go, are the trees important? Yes. Why? And then they begin to explain. They don't even hesitate. They don't even breathe. Just yes, they are. Because their
Wow.
conservation is so in their DNA. It's ingrained in
Mm.
everything they do. They've practiced rotational grazing since they can remember. They sing to their cattle. They sing to their cattle, Chantal.
But
They
listen,
sing to their goats.
cows have been known to respond very, very well to music and singing and stuff like that, right?
Cows
That's
also respond
amazing.
to kisses, because we know cows respond
I
to
know.
kisses.
By the way, for those of you who know, Yana and I had a ox together. His name was Henry. We bought him from, well, the farmer who was going to send him to the slaughterhouse. And long story short, I had a communication with Henry, with Yana's son, and I went, "You ain't going anywhere, buddy." And it was the craziest thing that night. Remember, Henry and Dolly, his mother, and Tinkerbell, the other cow, they were dancing around that paddock, right? They were dancing and jumping and skipping like little butterflies, these big, hefty cattle.
Oh.
They know, boy, they knew. But anyway, Henry left us a couple of years ago of natural causes. And our promise to him was that he would never, ever end up a steak on someone's plate. And he didn't. And he left a very, very happy boy. Anyway, so we were mothers to Henry. That was just on a little side note, talking about
I
cattle.
was also, just as an aside, Chantal, I was also mom to Wilbur.
To Wilbur, of course. How can I forget? Wilbur was Yanna's little calf, who the mom, also, long story short, was found nearly dead on the side of the road, and she had just given birth. So amazing farmers in the area actually came and lifted her with forklifts in the middle of the night. This is where I swear I just love the Namibian men, because they will do that, right? And the guy came there in the middle of the night rescuing a cow which had clearly reached her expiry date, and she was literally hanging on by a thread, but she was hanging on until her little son could get a life. And of course, that was Yanna. And then they took him, and she died a couple of days later. And then little Wilbur was also left the earth plane very sadly.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep leaving us. Clearly, we should not be our moms.
It's as bad as a bloody man. Okay, there was a private joke between us. But anyway, now that we've made it public.
I think Wilbur and Henry both stayed longer than most of the men. But in any case, we'll go with it.
We'll leave it.
Let me drink my tea.
Henry was a keeper.
So was Wilbur. They were both our favorites. I mean,
totally.
Beyond. Wow. I mean, how many men do you know you can give a pod to and they're pacified? So, yeah.
And we'll kiss you for a sweet pod. Henry loves sweet pods. Sweet pods is a type of a pod, if you will, that grows wild on some of the bushes there. So every month I paid my maintenance so that Henry could get his sweet pods.
They're very sweet. They're actually quite tasty. My mom actually grew up eating them. Prosopis. It's an invasive species, but it's a really good wood, and it's got really, really sweet, long pods, and the cattle love them. The sheep
Henry was, he was just like crunch, crunch, crunch with those sweet pods. Yeah, I still got awesome pictures of him. One day in one of our next shows, we should actually put some pictures of our cattle up, just as a fun thing.
Yes, we should. We should talk about Henry and Wilbur some more and teach people about the beauty of cattle.
Yeah, totally. Right? I mean,
totally. Yes,
it's amazing. And what's so amazing? You actually gave me a book called The Life of Cows.
Yes,
which is an incredible book, because the author, I don't remember her name now, but actually literally understands the difference between factory farmed cows and when cows are free range and running outside, because they literally, when they're factory farmed, they are like almost autistic, because they don't have anything of the fresh air, the running around, the smells, the interaction.
The family.
Super interactive, yes. The social, the social construct, so to speak, right?
Yes.
Compared to when they are running around outside free. That is why when people talk about, and I know I always come under fire for this, when people talk about, I only eat free range beef, I'm going, you should rather eat factory farm beef, because that cow wanted to die. This one, no, it was enjoying its life. Leave it. Go eat the factory farm stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, let us not digress anymore. We both had beautiful experiences with cattle that loved us like we were their mommies, and we were. And they're all in the happy hunting ground now. Henry died being the only male amongst the entire herd of females. So he was like,
he had like 30. It was like
30
hectares or something.
And he was on a vegan farmer's land. The vegan farmer was like catching all the strays. Okay, bring your cow. Yes, sir. They made him no money, but he just loved it. And I love that. Yeah, we paid maintenance.
We paid maintenance for Henry. Ach, julle toch. But anyway, so cattle. The way we speak about cattle now. This is how important cattle are for the Ovaherero people. So when they heard it, and it took me a very long time to get to the Chantal, and I'm so happy that I finally found one scientific source. So that's good for my PhD in natural sciences, which is necessary. But so they made these bows, and and when I discussed it with the elders and I asked them, they got really excited. And they started lifting up their walking sticks and holding it. So they hold it like a violin, right? So, okay, I see my screen's not totally full, but anyway, so they hold it almost like you would hold a violin, and it's got like 3 or 4 strings, and it's like a bow, and then they put a calabash at the bottom to accentuate the sound, and then they pluck it like a cello. So they would pluck it, not like, and they would sing to their cattle, and they how does Bakker say, we sing our history into life. So our stories are all in songs. And so they would sing to their
Sing
cattle,
our
and then
history into life.
yes,
Wow.
yeah,
That is
I know,
absolutely
right?
incredible.
And it's like
Wow.
goosebump stuff. And then
Yeah.
so they would sing to their cattle, and then when they didn't sing to their cattle, and it was like a big herd, they would have an old oryx horn, which they turned into a horn, and they would blow that horn, and all the cattle would get up because they knew it was time to move. And they do it with the goats as well now. So they learn, they teach the herd certain sounds. Now we go, now we stay, now we wait, now we walk this way, that way, whatever. And while we're walking, we're singing. And while we're singing to you, and you're also happy and chill, if you're getting upset, I know there's a predator.
Wow.
Today, the cattle aren't herded. And then wait. Regenerative grazing, Chantal. The Americans paid for this with their MCA, the Millennium Challenge account. So what they found was, and the Himbas actually knew this, it was done with the Himbas further north than what I'm working with, Colin Knott and them. But what they found is if you push all your cattle together, so you've got a big herd. When cattle walk alone, they walk in a line. They follow each other. These cattle now, if there's a big herd, so you've got, say, 3 or 4 herdsmen or young boys or whatever, it doesn't matter. The cattle are sort of in an oval, egg-shaped sort of sphere-y thing. And so they are tilling the soil, and they're doing their droppings, and their fecal matter is there, and they're eating. And the herder watches, and then they eat it down to the root, but they don't pull the root out. Then he moves them along. Tomorrow morning's dew is enough to just have those shoots come up again. And so you don't go back there. So you herd in these sort of lazy egg loops. Yes. So it's called regenerative grazing. And the chief actually in this YouTube video, he sat there and he said, we used to do this. And I don't know why we didn't do this anymore, why we forgot this, but we used to do this. So they're doing it now again. And in Ehi also they're doing their rotational grazing because they know El Nino is coming, so there will be no rain this year, and they only have X amount of grazing. So they've worked it out until August next year where all the herds must graze together.
Wow.
So yes, these farmers knew what they're doing. They might not have had vegetable gardens and tomato patches and built houses, but there was no reason for the colonial forces to look down on them because they were nomadic pastoralists, because they understood that environment. Yes.
Absolutely. It's like they belong to the land does not belong to them. And of course, our ancestral colonizers decided this land belongs to me.
Because it's so pretty until it doesn't rain. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly, and it's very interesting because, if you also just look back at the time of the colonization in then Southwest Africa, at the turn of the 18th century 19th into the 20th century, there was a lot of that because, and I think that's kind of where of course, the problems began there because first they were farming side by side when the settlers arrived. I mean, they had no problem with the settlers and then, of course, but these guys obviously knew where to graze and how to graze, and of course, the settlers knew absolutely zero about anything. So they got like jealous, I'm sure. So they just like wanted to grab what they had. and decide, okay, well, now hand it over. And that's when they were.
Chantal, I've found that what you read as well is that almost there's a chalice of entitlement that Europeans drank from when they came to Africa. And they, oh, shame, these poor primitive folk. They don't even wearing shoes, they don't have any fur coats, they got just a lion skin, not even a proper house, just a hut. We need to fence this in, demarcate it. This is my land. These are my cattle. I'm going to have a beautiful porch and I'm going to have my afternoon gin. Dude, they've been here for like 600 years. Maybe you want to just ask them why they don't have homesteads, because they also want a nice porch, and I'm sure they'll have your gin and your fences. But you need to ask them why they keep fucking moving. Excuse my language. So that you need to ask them why they keep moving. But they
Exactly.
didn't, because the cup they were drinking from is just one of entitlement, ownership, and of course,
Yeah.
the Christian faith, the way you have dominion, you know
Yes.
more. And
Yeah.
it's interesting because I'm doing, politics, colonization, and then your traditional faith, your original traditional faith, and Christianity are a very important part of my study. And I found that my Ovaherero people that I'm working with now, soon I'll be on the Damara. September onwards, I'm going to them. They've merged their holy fire with Christianity. So they do their holy fire with their ancestors, and the ancestors then go and speak to God. But none of them believe that they are competing with wild animals for the few resources they are. They believe they are competing with people.
Yes, absolutely.
They have no issue. They say that hunger drives a lion to catch a cow. If he catches the cow again, then we must begin to talk. We must make a fire, we must talk to the ancestors, or we must get an elder to talk to the lion. If it's like the third time, okay, then the lion must be taken out. But only that one. But if you don't know which one it is, if there's a pride, you must select. And this is going to sound cruel, but if you work on the basis of science and what we know about lion prides. Let's say, Chantal, you have a pride of a male, which is abnormal, but in this time and space where we are, it could be quite normal. You have a male, a female, both relatively young, but old enough, say they're adult, they're 4.5, and say they have 4 cubs. If you shoot the female because she's caught your cow, she's caught 3 cows, you're creating a big vacuum. Firstly, the main hunter has gone out of the area. The boy has barely learned to hunt. He's only survived those 2 years of his sub-adult years, and the cubs are going to die. If you shoot him, you're not going to change anything. You're just going to bring a new male into the territory who could be worse. Muduma said, if you shoot one baby, you don't disturb the pride, but the mother will go because she is concerned about her children. So they understood the dynamics of the pride.
Yeah.
Even
totally.
though, I don't want to think about shooting a young lion, but he always said, don't shoot the girl, don't shoot the boy, shoot a baby. The mother will take the children and go, because the man lion, this is the language, is in any case too lazy to hunt. It must be hunted for him. So just he will go where she goes. Don't take her out, because you don't know what you're getting if you empty up that space, and then everybody dies. So take one baby, shoot the baby, and then she'll go with her 3 or whatever, and she will leave, because this is not good. It's the same way they say you don't scare an elephant, because if you scare or taunt an elephant, he will come and find you. So if an elephant
we
comes
know that
to a
about
water
elephant, right? We know that.
Yes. Yes. So if an elephant comes to a water hole, you let him drink. And then you surprise him, because the elephant must think, how did I not notice that thing was there? Why? Oh my goodness, let me go. So that is how you deal with elephants. You don't taunt them, because they will come and they will find you. They say that the elephant had a fight with God, and the elephant said he is superior to God, and it didn't rain for 7 days. And so now the elephant knows, but the elephant is so clever and so wise that he could take on God in this battle, even though he lost it. So they have this great reverence for the elephant, and they have a reverence for the lion as well, but it's so dampened by their fear and respect for them. They say
Yeah.
a chief will never wear a hyena skin because a hyena is not brave. And they say also not a cheetah skin, but a leopard or a lion that the chief can wear because those animals are brave and so clever. I asked one of them, does the lion know where your cattle are? And he looked at me and he said to me, the lion puts his nose in the sky and he knows where everything is.
Wow. That's so true, right? Wow. Amazing. But isn't it beautiful just to spend time with people like that who totally get it? They get it on every single level. And isn't it amazing that with such little, with so little, they are so content with life. They have each other, they have their spirituality. And we know that the African culture, the spirituality is strong. The connection to the ancestors is strong. The connection to
Yes.
the animal spirits is strong. So they live such a connected life. And they will, and this is the thing about the African tribes as well, is that they don't take more than what they need. They learn
Never.
that from nature too.
Yes.
And this is where we in the West have got it so dismally wrong. And we've got to so learn. How many of us have cars and houses and cupboards of clothes groaning? You know what I'm
Chantal,
saying?
you can halt it right there. What do they say about serial rapists or murderers? He's an animal. Animals don't rape or murder.
Yeah, they don't.
He's human. He's just human. If we
Yeah,
can learn to be more animal and more like these communities of mine, more in touch, more
yeah,
where we, and are they all, every single one of them, it was a new question on this trip. Does the elephant own his ivory? Yes. No hesitation. Does the rhino own his horn? Yes. The monetization of everything. It's just,
yeah,
it reeks and rots and messes up everything.
yeah,
These people are so, they say that the elders, and now because of the fence, they say it's the fence that has destroyed our talking to the
yeah,
lions and the elephants.
yeah,
We cannot talk to them
exactly.
anymore. There's a boundary.
Divide.
Yes.
Division.
So,
It's not even a
yes,
boundary because they would have a natural boundary just spiritually. They create that through their communication. And as an
yes,
animal communicator, I understand how that works. When you have that connection and you understand how, when you connect with that animal on its vibration, you talk to each other, right? So you understand things. You're always going to get the rogue here and there. Nothing's to say it's going to be perfect,
yes,
but
yes.
80% of the time you have that connection. What they've done here and what the West does, they do the whole divide and conquer. That's literally what they're doing. With the fences, they're dividing, they're weakening the entire ecosystem there. Really,
But
that's what
all
that
those
division
sacred
does.
sites, sacred waterholes, places where their ancestors are buried, gone. And there's Chantal, it's terrible. You drive in and you cross the red line now and you drive in, and to your left, it's dry. And to your right, if you can get through all those big fat droppers and poles and electrics, there's grazing. And that was their land. And it's right there. It's literally a road reserve. It is as far as a farm line, and you've driven in this country as far as a farm fence. That's it, Tasha, now. All of a sudden, it's off limits. No more. You can't go there. You can't go there. It's been 100 years. You can't go there. Nothing grazes there. Nothing grazes there. But they can't go there. They've got to be here. And when the lion comes through, oh, no, it's not your lion. You can't shoot it. I give you, this is our SWAPO government, I give you the responsibility to live with the wildlife, but you don't own it and you can't control it. That
Wow.
is where we are currently. And these people are still not angry. They are
So
still
it's like
not
they've
angry.
got them in there, their hands tied behind their back. Literally. I mean, if you had to think of that analogy in
Yes,
physical
it's
terms.
total. Their hands are chopped off. They're not even tied behind
Yeah,
their back. They
I
don't
was going
have
to say,
hands.
it's actually even like chopped off. We've chopped your
Yes,
hands off. Look at your beautiful land that used to be yours and always has been yours. You
yes.
now can't touch your own land. You
It's
can't
fenced
hunt your
in.
own
Yeah.
animals. You
And
you are now.
even if it comes through out of the fence that I, government, good Lord, I'm so fabulous, have erected, even if it comes through, you still can't do anything to it. It's still mine. It can eat your cattle. It can eat your bull that you paid $40,000 for. Namibian dollars, just for those people who are far away. So I will still just pay you 3,000 Namibian dollars compensation, maybe in about 90 days when I get to it. But you're not allowed to shoot that lion. We will decide. And if there's a problem elephant that you can say to me, this elephant has come in, and only if your garden is 1.5 hectares. So it has to be 1.5 hectares. It can't be a small homestead garden. If the elephant comes in and ruins this small garden, oh no, it's too small. We can't pay that out. So your whole livelihood is gone. You've got a couple of goats. These people have no more cattle. Cattle are the Ovaherero man's everything. It's their everything. It is their prestige, their power, their wealth, their food,
Yeah,
the ability to be a man. It
yes,
represents that
absolutely.
for them.
It's currency. It
Many
is
of them
currency.
have
We
they have
have money,
nothing.
they have cattle. Yeah.
Chantal, suicide rates are through the roof.
No,
Stress.
man.
You have women-headed households where the women are like Omarosa, 89. Now, Omarosa has given, 98. She's given up. She said she's been with these animals so long. If they take her, it's fine. But if they take her, Chantal, nobody in her household can earn a pension because nobody's old enough and they have a handful of goats. So they're living off her pension. If you're looking at Christophine, if Christophine dies, she's like 55, so she's getting pension. But if she dies, yes, there's a brother that'll come in, but she says she can't sleep because her next pension child is like 20 years away from pension. So she's terrified because if she dies and she's not safe, there's nobody to look after anybody. And there's no
Wow.
cattle left. And yet, they're still not angry and they still love the trees. And the ivory has no value and the rhino horn has no value.
Wow.
It's, I sit there and I sometimes think, can I just shake you awake? And then I think, no, God, let's not. Let's hold on to this
Yeah.
thing that comes from this time, which is, it's
Yeah.
holy.
We need, yeah, I was going to say, this is these people are sacred,
Yeah.
because they definitely, if you just think energetically, spiritually, they hold that original consciousness alive. They're keeping those fires alive for the rest of us to actually start waking up and igniting, so to speak. So we
I mean,
do
I would
need,
love to ask a commercial farmer in this country, and I'm going to do them as well because I'm working with the Ovaherero, the Damara, and then the commercial farmers. I would love to ask the commercial farmer, any commercial farmer in this country, does the elephant own his ivory?
no,
Yeah.
of course not.
But we'll see. We'll have a talk. We'll have a talk when I've done them. So I'll do them 3 or 4 times because they're a little bit quicker. They've got more, time bound. And okay, it's a farmers association meeting. We can do this questionnaire and whatever quickly. I mean, the communities I'm working with now are more, it's more sunrise, sunset, and it's now time for this and it's now time for that. And so yeah, I'll do them and then I'll report back. But I'm curious to see what I'm going to get. I have an idea, but I
Well,
don't,
I mean,
as a
I
scientist, I
think
can't
that,
predict.
that question is obvious. I mean, let's just look at trophy hunters when they want to come. And I mean, I know nowadays the ivory is obviously they're not allowed to take it anymore, but the government still gets it, right? And
Yes.
I mean, no one wants to shoot the mediocre elephant of the herd, do they? They all want to go for the big boy. Why? Because they've got little wieners like that. Sorry. You know how I feel about that. Don't laugh. I know we have different opinions about these things.
No, I
And they, of
support I
course, have to
support
dominate the
hunting.
biggest animal on the planet, right? It is so awful when I see that. It is awful, awful. And it is awful to see them hunting these majestic creatures. It is the most horrific sight to see a
Now,
trophy hunter
Chantal,
take an elephant
if
down.
I tell you that the Ovaherero also hunted before they had guns, they hunted elephant, what would you say?
Well, I would imagine. I think every African tribe has, Yana. And I think, but my point is when you look at Africa, African people and African animals have a unique relationship. And it's
Yes.
like this, it's this type of relationship you talk about. But it's like the North Americans, with the buffalo, the Indians, they the buffalo is their animal. They have that sacred connection with it. I have no doubt that they would have hunted them and of course there would be horrible stories where you'd always get the rogue who did
No, no,
something
no,
bad.
no, 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 none of that, none of that. It's just that because they didn't have the tools or the caliber, or they didn't even have weapons. The hunting method was not. I don't even. I'm not going to tell it here.
No, and
But
I know what I know what. Let's not say it because yes,
no,
it is a gruesome,
but
gruesome
I would
thing.
like to say that they also did it like, okay. So before they even set the trap, they would hurt the elephant's foot because then he struggles to
Yes,
walk. An elephant doesn't walk on
yes,
3 feet,
yes.
so, or on 3 legs. So, but anyway, and then they would use whatever mediocre weaponry they had, but everybody, and not just one family, all the families in the area, whatever, however big that area was, would have moved in already. So then the elephant would now be down. Let's get to the down part. Nobody eats, okay? Nobody makes a fire. It's not allowed because we've now got the elephant down. Now we prepare for the drying of the meat. So you cut, you cut, and it's hung to dry. Only when you get to the bone are you allowed to make fire and start eating from the elephant. All the meat that can be dried will be dried. And nothing, Chantal, nothing, not a steenbokkie, will be hunted until the dried meat is finished.
Yes. But you see, that's what I'm
So they
saying.
used,
It's not done
and
out
then,
of malice.
interestingly enough, they buried the teeth.
Well, you see, that in itself is telling me the difference. Any killing of an animal is never pleasant. Any killing, but it's a reality, and it's, of course, how the ancient tribes have existed. There's no doubt about that. I have an issue. That's why I say there's a difference between an African tribe hunting an elephant, a lion, a buck, whatever it is, in their ways they do it in order to feed their people, than some trigger happy dude coming from Spain or Russia or Texas or Germany with high caliber rifles. And because he's got a small penis and lots of money, he wants to come here and mow our wildlife down. And there is way too much of that. That's what I take exception to. And of course, there's lots of bullshit around that conservation. Conservation is con. There's a lot of conning in conservation. However, my point is with the tribes, I understand. Do I want to see that? No. Do I like it? No. But I understand that that's obviously how, as you say, with the weaponry that they have, and that's the way that they would see it. And as you say, it's honored, it's revered. We will eat it until there's nothing else. There's not like let's go and hunt a new delight
No,
every week just to see how
no.
many animals we can mow down.
Also,
Big difference in
if they shot a
consciousness.
lion, if they had a problem, the only time they would shoot a lion is if there was a problem animal, and it would only be that one, nothing else. You didn't you didn't go and kill a pride. You shot the lion that you have seen 2 to 3 times catching your cattle. One is fine. It's fine. We're sharing space. There's this idea of coexistence. Let's call it human wildlife coexistence with the Ovaherero. So there was no issue because I'm taking your eland, you take my cow. It's good. It's shop. It's fine. We're good. Okay, you come take another cow. I'm still busy on your eland. Okay, now you come take another cow. Okay, no, now we have a problem. Now I must deal with you.
Yeah, I agree.
But then that's also, it's dealt with in such a
dignified and respectful way. It's not, I hate this thing, let's go and kill them. It's like the farmers will now go out and make a night of hunting in a bucky, jackal or fox, whatever. Come, we're going fox hunting. And they will come back with 100 fox that they've just mowed down. You
not
see, it's
anymore. Not anymore. Yeah.
Thank God for that. What I'm saying is, obviously, you're going to have people dealing with that. And they do it in a dignified, spiritual understanding. Okay, guys, we got to live here. Now we got to deal with a perpetrator. These are our rules between you and me. It's not done.
But this is also after they've tried to avoid it. This
exactly.
is a problem,
That's my point.
Because remember, it's what they always explain to me. If the game is concentrated, this is in the old days, Western Natasha when they lived there. So the game is concentrated at this waterhole. And game is good, and we like our game. But we can shoot an eland anytime. So we're going to take our homestead from this waterhole now, and we're going to go over there to that waterhole because the lion are going to come, the leopards are going to come to this waterhole. We're going to avoid. So we avoid. We'll come in, take our eland, and we'll take that home. But for everything else, we're avoiding. If there's a pride of lion at that waterhole, we're not going there. We're going to go this way. We're going to go behind us. Anywhere to avoid, which is why we keep moving. So we avoid. If we are in the path of elephants, oh, hell no. Pick it up, avoid, moving. Next hole. We're not fighting the elephants. We're not fighting anything. We're not fighting any animal. We just want our
cohabiting,
part,
right?
Your part. Yes.
And I truly believe animals were really sent on this planet to be our companions, and these people understand that. And just because it doesn't mean that that there is not going to be conflict, it doesn't mean that they're not going to hunt. And it's like the Bushman people, when they go hunting, the Gemsbok eland or the giraffe, that's their main thing that they hunt, right? And the way they do it is so respectfully. It's never pleasant to see an animal go down, but the way they do it is done with love. It's done with gratitude. Obviously, you have to go into that moment where you take in something's life, right? But there's that moment of spiritual exchange that they have. And it's done. And unless you've lived in Africa, I'm sorry, and I'm not an African person, but I've had enough. I'm a farm girl, and thank God I had a father who
Chantel, you are African.
It's true, but what I'm saying is I've not grown up.
Is French. You are African. So,
but what I'm saying is I have not grown up in African tribes where this kind of stuff took place. But you live in the culture, you grow up in the culture, you become the culture, right? And you understand the culture at cellular level. And this is why we can't, for me, when I see these guys coming in and just mowing things down and controlling and using and abusing and manipulating to suit that narrative that completely depletes or takes away from the true essence of the African people, that's the issue that I have when we talk about
Chantel, are we not, when we talk about European hunting, I mean, I support hunting. I fair chase, please. SCI principles, the principles of fair chase. I don't support canned hunting or any kind of fake hunting situation.
Yeah.
Are you not talking for our, because we too were once first people. White folk, ons Lanis, we were also in Europe. Die Lanis was mos ook first people, no? So we must also had like our stuff, even though nobody talks about our stuff, but in any case, not even we talk about our stuff.
We came from
But
the snowy areas.
but is the Scandinavian areas? I mean, look, this is so.
I know,
But
look at you, all
anyways,
blonde and pretty.
but is it not really just using technology combined with a good 75% arrogance? But let me finish. Using the technology we've developed and combining that with 75% arrogance to just relive what we did in the forests of Scandinavia and Europe with the aurochs and the wild boar. And is it not just these, as you explained, the God, for lack of a better word, excuse me, forgive me, needle dicks, just trying to relive the same way that my Overherero folk and just my communities are just sitting there with these young boys, and they are told to go and study at NUST or at UNAM or at a college or whatever, instead of having their hunting right.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
there's nothing
This is the
left in Europe.
problem. This is the problem and I mean, this is what I say. We think colonization is over. This is the results of colonization, where they came in here. Not just did our ancestors grab land and steal it and hunt and do despicable things, but they've now, through religion and Western schooling, have infiltrated entire Africa, because that's exactly how, when you look at how the controllers have actually come in, and with the feminist movement in the 60s, actually literally broke up families so that they could educate, they could get our kids earlier. Our mothers were now working. Now they could get our kids. That's how they did it with us. They're like Europe and obviously Africa as well. Because why? Africa is, of course, a whole bunch of savage beasts that
Of
know
course.
nothing. That's my problem.
I
That's my
just,
point.
my hope for the future of the young people of Ehirovepuka is, please, dear God, do not get educated.
Yes,
I didn't,
don't take on
I
the
didn't
Western
think
education
in my
system.
life I would ever say that. Do not. I'm
Don't.
getting educated, but my education is, I'm going to try and
This
empower
is the
you.
education we
But
need.
yes,
And
whatever
yes,
you
we
do, do not get educated.
I
Yes.
agree. This is the education we need. Yes, you've got, and of course, we're not living in an uncivilized world. So you want to do your ABCs and your one, two, threes, and
Yes.
you want to get, you want to educate yourself in the areas that matter, whatever that might be for you. Okay, as an individual, I'm not going to dictate that. But when I'm saying we are sending our kids, and let's look at what's happening now. Let's take it a step further. Not just the African kids who are now taken away from their land to go and be educated, right? And by all means, yes, come there, educate them, teach them to read, write, do whatever. It's important that they can obviously get by in the Western world as well, since everything is so integrated, right? But we have given our power away. And now, what's happening in schools in America with all this crap, with all these crazy drag artists going and doing sex shows with kids, little 6-year-old giving a 6-year-old boy head in class the other day while it's being filmed and the teacher's there. This is what's happening in public schools, right? So my whole point is we have to take our power back. We've got to learn from our ancestors. We've got to educate our kids. We've got to go more into homeschooling or community schooling or family units. You know what I'm saying? Where we reclaim our power. And this is exactly, as you say, going right back to the African thing. When they came in here, our ancestors came in here, calling everyone savages, hunting everyone into smithereens, stealing and doing horrific things. And now then they educate them in Western education and Western religion, which is not natural to them, right? And I love what the Overeru have done. They've taken their fire, as you say, and they've merged it with Christianity as well. So they've understood that a part of Christianity is actually very beautiful. But when you become fundamental and you start trying to control the world with your religious dogma, that's where the problem is. So you
Chantal,
take those
maybe
principles.
maybe the point is that us, or well, maybe not you and me, but that white folk across the world, wherever you find yourself, go and find your Overherero community. Go and find
Yes,
your first people
your
stuff.
first
Go,
people community and
go,
learn from
because you
them.
were a
That
first
is a
people somewhere.
fantastic idea. So everyone in the
You go back to your roots and
yes,
go sit
I
with
want
your
to actually
elders.
say that. That is a beautiful idea because also one of my friends, Andy Bond, as well. She's part Cherokee as well, and she's amazing in terms of going to the Cherokees and learning from the elders and stuff like that. So I want to say to everyone who's actually watching, maybe find out who your original or first tribe is
Yeah.
in your area. Australia, I know the Aboriginal or the First Nation people, there's a lot there, but I know Australians are really the Aboriginal people are fighting for their rights at the moment. And I mean, I know Bruce, I can't remember his name now, Australian guy that I've often spoken to, um, often is arrested because, they believe, as I was saying before, the LORE, law of the land, which is, of course, what the first people believe, versus the LAW, the law of the land, that the Westerners come in, where it's literally smash and grab and it's all mine, mine, mine. And if you come here, I'm gonna do something terrible to you if you dare step a foot over my wall. It's so different. It's the complete opposite of what the African tribes are.
But
We,
the
yeah,
Westerners must go and find their first people.
yeah, I
Whether you
agree.
are whether you are Norse, whether you are
Yeah,
Celts, it doesn't matter. Go and find where you come from and
yeah.
go find your stuff. And let's live according to
And
the way
see
we
what
do.
those teachings were,
We but
because
we it's all the same, Chantal, it's all the
yes,
same.
exactly,
It's just
exactly,
more
exactly.
water
That's
in
what I
Europe,
said.
more forests, less abundance of wildlife or diversity. Here it's drier, so more pastoralist. Why did we come and bring this government system when we were all at one time, all the
Exactly.
same? We were all the
Well, this is
same.
exactly this whole nefarious agenda that's been ruling and controlling our planet for such a
And the
long
weird
time.
part is in epigenetics, and epigenetics is a proven theory. Well, it's not a proven theory. It's
Yeah.
science. Epigenetics is science. It's not what is that resonance? The resonance theory, where if you burn toast, the smell of it lingers, and somebody else will come in and know you've burned toast. But this can happen over, say, 100 years. It's not that.
Yes.
Epigenetics means that, and I've seen this with my girl dogs when I've got my bitches, all my animals are rescues. My bitches are really nervous, even though not one of them as a puppy was abused, but they were rescued. Their mom
Yeah.
was rescued, and then they were born. And they all behave like they've all been terribly
Yeah. That
abused.
whole
So,
highly.
yes,
Yeah.
genetically, that environmental influence has been fixed. I don't see it in my boy dogs, interestingly. And trust me, my boy dogs are castrated, so it's not like they're busy with other stuff. So they don't really have those issues. They have hunger, so they would grab food. But the girl dogs are very, even though none of them have ever had a violent hand on them, they are fearful as hell. So maybe the epigenetics of what
Yeah.
our ancestors did, our colonizing ancestors, is so strong within us that we're not able to make that jump back
Yeah.
to before then, when we were also
Absolutely.
subject to nature. Because white people are so, Westerners are so quick to unsubject themselves to nature as though they
Yeah.
can. They can
Exactly.
maybe for the next 100 years, and then we all.
No, hang on. No, we have already, and this is where it's gotten us. Look at where it's gotten us. This is
Yes.
us, if we really look at it. And, those of us who are still really living, connecting, I mean, the percentage is minuscule on the planet. And those of us who enjoy the rural life are deemed
Primitive.
savage. Oh, yeah, all
I'm
right.
happy to be a savage. Yay, I'm a savage.
I'm going to come be savage with you very soon again.
Come savage. You must come savage.
I'm going to go be
This
savage
Cape
with
Town
you real
nonsense must
soon.
end. Come savage. Come
I'm
savage with us.
manifesting that. I'm manifesting that very, very soon. Okay, wow, guys. Yes, it's been an awesome conversation again with you, Yanna. And thank you so much. And
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I want to just say what Liz said there. My daughter dropped out of college and I was sad, but now I'm grateful. She's not pulled in. It's so true. Honestly, though, she hasn't fallen into their BS. It's so true because really, they try to create this business model person that they can control through industry. That's what all the universities and stuff. That's why, those of us who are rogues and we've decided to be entrepreneurs instead, they can't control us. That's the whole thing.
May I just say, I am a PhD student at an institution.
Yes, I know, but you're a different one. That's why I can say that to you, because you're not the same as those others. Okay, on that note, I'm not saying another word.
Okay. It was fabulous. Thank you.
Yes, we see you back in a month's time after your next field trip.
Yes.
Yanna goes on her field trips every month, and the Monday after she just come back, she comes and shares her stories with Oma Ruesa. Oma, by the way, is granny. It's Afrikaans for granny. So and Ruesa is her name, Rosa. Yeah. It's Afrikaans, Oma Ruesa. So Oma Ruesa is the matriarch of the tribe of the Hererus where Yanna goes to visit. And she's obviously a very important lady. So just so you guys know what that is. Okie dokie. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I'll see you in less than an hour back with Bryce for the Emerald Tablets again. So I hope to catch you there. And take good care. God bless you all. And have a fantastic week. I hope it's warmer for you than what it is here with us. That's for sure. All right. Cherry vibes, everyone. Bye-bye.